Spanish is so scary. Why did I take this class?
Hoy nuestro nuevo capítulo es sobre Venezuela. Normalmente no hablamos de cultura, pero quería compartir algunos antecedentes. Una de las comidas que les gusta comer es la hallaca. Es una combinación de 3 culturas en Venezuela. La carne proviene de los españoles, la harina de maíz de los indígenas y los envoltorios de África.
That's kinda cool. Spanish and indigenous makes sense. But Africa? What?
During one class of my introductory Spanish course, my professor discussed Venezuelan culture. Alongside learning the language, I was introduced to various traditional foods, one of which particularly caught my attention, the hallaca. My professor explained that this dish is a product of the fusion of 3 distinct cultures, indigenous, Spanish, and African. This sparked my curiosity, leading me to question how and why these cultures merged. However, I soon realized that the influence of African culture in Latin America is often overlooked and even erased, despite its profound impact on the region's societies. The erasure of African history in Latin America was rooted in racism and colorism and still continues to perpetuate social inequalities to this day. For my inquiry essay, I wrote the majority of it on the hallaca and how it represents a mix of these cultures. I didn't start thinking about the erasure of their history until well into my paper. When I was finding sources, a key quote that really shifted the idea of my topic came from the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Latino, where it states, beginning with early European colonization around the 1500s, Africans and their descendants were enslaved throughout the Americas. When possible, they fled to escape slavery, sometimes alongside indigenous people. Together, they built new communities and customs, often fighting the many injustices of colonization. Even prior to researching, I definitely had an idea that there are Africans in Latin America, but finding more sources about their introduction into the Americas really had changed my thought process, which is something I highlighted in my inquiry essay with me posing the question of why most people think of Africans going into only North America rather than both North and South America. This shift of questions was something that changed my thought process of how strictly Spanish colonization affected Latin America to why the history of Africans in Latin America has been pretty much erased to the masses. For my thesis essay, researching this topic helped me come to the conclusion that most of the reasoning boils down to racism, colorism, and the casta system. The casta system was a way to keep Spanish European lineages at the top of the social pyramid and enslave Africans at the bottom, with all mixes of indigenous, Spanish, and African in the middle. The casta system still has managed to be extremely prevalent today in both Latin America and the United States, typically favoring those of lighter skin compared to those of dark complexions. In a 2021 research study by the Pew Research Center, quote, a majority 62% of Hispanic adults say having a darker skin color hurts Hispanics' ability to get ahead in the United States, which systemically upholds the idea of the caste system even in today's modern times. This lack of recognition and representation skews the narrative of history and continues to erase the contributions and presence of Africans in Latin America. To move forward is to acknowledge the contributions and existence of those people to receive a greater and more accurate understanding of Latin American history.